Welcome to the 3030 Health Podcast. The following discussion is for education and entertainment. It is not intended to diagnose or treat disease. Please do not apply any of this information without first discussing it with your doctor. Here is your host, Dr. Ruiz.
Hello everyone, super excited about my guest today. My guest today is Dr. Bob Harding. Dr. Harding is an emergency physician in Austin, Texas. After earning his bachelor's degree in pharmacology, he attended Osteopathic Medical School and went on to complete a 4-year emergency medicine residency at Leigh Valley Hospital in Pennsylvania. Dr. Harding was very involved in his emergency medicine physician group as a medical director and managing partner for various years. After his own personal health journey and further education in integrative and functional medicine, Dr. Harding has teamed up with Apeiron Center in Austin, where he enjoys transforming the lives of his clients by developing personalized human optimization plans. I hope you enjoy the show. Hello everyone, super excited to have Dr. Bob Harding here in the show today. Dr. Harding, how are you doing?
Great, man. I just got a good night's sleep. I was kind of bored watching the Super Bowl game last night, but got some sleep, went to the gym, hit the sauna for 20 minutes. I'm kind of cooling down right now, but things are going great.
I like a good defensive game. And it's funny how if you look back at, maybe 5-6 years ago, and you saw someone that was playing at the age of 40 at that level, it's unimaginable what Brady's doing. He is just a beast. And to be able to perform at that level at that age, it's pretty crazy until you start looking at all of the things that he has been doing to be able to do that. And we can get into that conversation about optimization even after you're 30. But before we start the show, what's your hero story?
Well, I'm an emergency physician. So I did Osteopathic Medical School, and then I did 4 years of residency in emergency medicine. And then by the time I was in my late 30s, I wasn't really feeling all that great. I worked a lot, did a lot of shift work, and then I was in upper management, help run a group here in Austin, and it really took its toll on my health. And my wife is also an osteopathic physician. She trained in family medicine, and then she went ahead and did an integrative medicine fellowship with Dr. Andrew Weil, not too far from you, I guess, in Tucson.
Yeah.
And that had a lot of influence on me. And I was at her graduation. I was like, I think I'm going to do this. So I signed up, got in the next class, and it really changed the way I looked at lifestyle. So that was one of the first integrative medicine fellowships out there for practicing clinicians that they could go through. So I did that, and I did that instead of doing an MBA. I was like on this trajectory. Do I go do something different outside of conventional medicine, or do I do an MBA and go more into an administrative role down the line? So I suffered a lot from horrible heartburn is one of the things I suffered from. I was on proton pump inhibitors for many years, stopped that, and then I was just doing a lot of Tums. And I ballooned up to about 220 pounds, had back pain, just chronic knee pain, chronic back pain, and the heartburn problem. And then I was actually at Paleo FX, and I was in my fellowship, and I saw Mark Sisson talk, and I didn't know who Mark Sisson was. It's the Primal Blueprint guy, but he talked about his life, the things he failed at, and things that were successful. And I just saw his timeline. I was like, man, what am I doing? So I was like, that's it. I'm gonna get out there and start a practice. My wife already had a pretty thriving functional medicine, integrated medicine practice. So I actually decided to leave all my administrative duties, just work as an emergency physician, which was great. I was on call for like 10 years straight, and living by that phone, being a medical director. So I decided to let all those things go, started taking care of my own health, really dialed in the diet, decided to go basically gluten and grain free, more of a low carb lifestyle, was able to drop 10 pounds pretty fast, and actually I lost that. I didn't have heartburn anymore. And I think some of it is maybe some biomechanical. If you have extra visceral fat, that can cause some pressure problems, and decrease the tone of the lower esophageal sphincter and acid could go up. But I also think some of that was psychosomatic with some of the stress. And then I also think gluten and grains can also irritate the stomach. We always think about leaky gut and things like that, but I think changing the diet can also help relieve some of those heartburn symptoms. So lost the 10 pounds, then kept losing weight. Did more training with functional medicine. I did more training with hormone optimization with Senegenics. Started seeing some clients in my wife's in her clinic. I really started working out a lot more and really started hitting the sauna. So ended up losing 40 pounds. So now I went from 220, I'm about 180, still on my health journey. I have this thing called Dr. Fat Bob, the Fit Bob. If you look me up on Facebook, I do these videos and I make things called man scrambles, like a lot of cauliflower rice, turmeric, olive oil, kind of whatever vegetable you have in the fridge. I just cut it up and put it in there. And, some kind of meat or protein, eggs, things like that. So really started cooking my own food and using food as medicine, and started taking supplements and started to feel a lot better, focused on my sleep and rest. Getting out in nature was a big thing too. Started meditating a bit. Using the Headspace app was a good start for me. So it really started changing my lifestyle around, and realized I never thought I could lose weight. I was like, I'm destined to get esophageal cancer. I can't get this heartburn under control. I'm just going to be a fat guy all my life. And, I got to the point where bending over to tie my shoes, I was huffing and puffing. I was like, what happened? Or going up the stairs of my house. I wasn't someone that went to the doctor a lot. I'm not a very good patient. I remember I was in Florida and checked my blood sugar with my dad's meter. It was like 146 in the morning. It's like, oh, I was like, man, I guess I'm diabetic too. And I just kind of ignored that, but got things rolling. Lost the weight. Eventually went and got some labs done. Started working with different people and really dialed it in. I mean, right now I never really knew what my hemoglobin A1C was at that time. Now it's at 5, so I'm pretty proud of that because I'm sure I had diabetes, pre-diabetes, and really got that down. And then I had an opportunity to open up the center here. It's called the Apeiron Center, and we work to really optimize people's health. And it kind of goes along with, I do a lot of body, I call it body composition transformations with people. I don't like to say weight loss because we really want to decrease their visceral fat and their body fat composition. And we work with people's breathing. That's something that's a lot of people just kind of breathe in their shoulders and not really into their belly. And, one thing I learned in my fellowship is Dr. Weil said if you could teach people one thing, and that would be how to breathe. And he does like 4-7-8 breathing is a big thing he promotes out there. So you breathe in for 4 seconds, hold it for 7, let it out for 8. You do that 4 times, you can maybe reset the parasympathetic tone, so kind of relax you. We do like a pretty comprehensive genetic evaluation on people that we look for actionable things. So things, we look at people's metabolism like vitamin A, the vitamin B, their possibility for insulin resistance, cardiac markers for inflammation, and risk factors for cardiac disease. So we start with that, and then we do extensive laboratory evaluations, and then we take a look at, we have a capnography machine and kind of look at the heart rate variability and breathing. We have a QEEG machine, kind of look at brain function and cognition. So we really try to optimize people's health from a systems approach. And I joined up with Dr. Stickler and his team from the Apeiron Center and the coaches. And so we have a center here, and that's kind of where I'm at. I'm still working, in the emergency department, so I get to see conventional medicine, and I see that people are getting sicker and sicker every year. I've been doing this I'm a physician for about 15 years now, and what I see now is people on dialysis. I mean, saw someone at the age of 22 on dialysis because of uncontrolled hypertension, and obesity is, a huge cause for a lot of these things.
I used to work at an emergency department. I used to be at a level 1 trauma center in Orlando, Florida. At the Arnold Palmer Emergency Department, a bunch of heroes work there. It's pretty cool. And I got to see like life-changing procedures, and I got to see just like pretty amazing things going on with modern medicine, And then we use the emergency department as a release valve, sometimes, if you can't get to your doctor, or your doctor, is getting backlogged, and you just go to the emergency department. And at least in the pediatric side of things, 90% of the things that we saw in the emergency department were cough and colds.
Yeah.
And it's so frustrating, because that 10% that are true emergencies are just, so much satisfaction in being able to help someone in that environment. I used to joke that the emergency department should be, maybe 4 rooms and 8 trauma bays, not 2 or 3 trauma bays and 40 rooms. It's just that, the way that we treat disease right now in this acute way, it's not conducive to long-term health. I think that, the conventional model, one of the shining spots would be emergency medicine. How do you balance what you do on a day-to-day basis, and like kind of hold yourself back when talking to a patient about diet and exercise? Because I imagine that you don't have too much time to talk about a low carb diet, when you see someone with dialysis, by hypertension.
Yeah, this just reminds me of someone I saw recently. Came in for like an abscess wound on the leg that was cut open and stuff, and it just wasn't healing. So I go, "Are you diabetic?" She's like, "Yeah." And then I see that she has this huge container. It's like this big, something you get at 7-Eleven. I was like, "What's in there?" She's like, "Oh, that's lemonade." And then I see a thing of donuts, and then I saw a thing of jelly beans. I said, "Your leg's not going to, it's not going to heal if you're eating things like this. Your blood sugar is out of control." She's like, "God." And, she didn't really understand the effects of eating sugar, and how it's going to affect her wound healing, how it's going to affect her diabetes. And this was a young person. So I try and encourage people to change their, use food as their best medicine. I see a lot of people with back pain. Back pain is the number one cause for disability in the United States. We see a lot of people with back pain, and a lot of that's related to inflammation going on in their body, whether it's the vegetable oils they're eating, all the sugar, all the processed foods. So I try and, when I have time, bring it up with people. It can be a challenge. People change your diets like change your religion.
And the biggest challenge that I see is all the information that we're putting out on the internet. Like, for example, I'm a paleo guy, and I think we agree that, eliminating inflammatory foods means eliminating grains, eliminating seed oils, eliminating sugar. But there are as many podcasts or discussions about how meat is the most inflammatory thing that you can be eating, or how saturated fat is going to clog your arteries. So there is so much information, and so many people are confused because they don't know where to turn. When I started in my naturopathic medical school, I would go and see a patient, and I would talk about anti-inflammatory diets, and they would just like, they would be in awe, and how did you know this? And how come no one's talking about this? And you can get into a little bit of conspiracy theories. But now that I'm working at Integrative Health, and I see very savvy individuals, they come in and they know about anti-inflammatory diets, and they have been doing anti-inflammatory diets, and they are in their journey, and now they need a little bit more help than podcasts or blogs. So it's pretty cool to be able to work with people that are interested in their health to that level. And that's something that I wouldn't trade, with the emergency department, because people are not there because they're feeling sick. For the most part, people are there for an emergency. So back to the, to some of this heartburn stuff and some of this stuff. So I used to have chronic heartburn. Like, I used to keep a bottle of Mylanta in my fridge, and and I would just walk, after having a big meal, I would just walk and just gulp it, like wouldn't even measure it, and then put it back. And I remember, going paleo and changing my lifestyle, and dropping some weight. I didn't visit the fridge for my Mylanta fix anymore, and that was something that I didn't notice. I was pretty young, 28, What's your approach to heartburn? So you start with diet and trying to get good digestion. Any other tips or any other supplements that you recommend?
I like slippery elm. There's Thayer's. It comes in a yellow container. It's like these slippery elm lozenges. You can use it for a sore throat, but you can also use it for heartburn. Marshmallows, another one that can help. There's different supplements out there with some of these with some of these things in there, like Gastromen from Designs for Health has a couple different things in it. Apple cider vinegar, that's something I do. There's so much information out there on the internet about that for, whether it's insulin resistance and whether it helps for heartburn too. So I actually take that too, just like a teaspoon in a glass of water. A lot of it is kind of what you eat. Slippery elm can definitely help, like almost like a Tums in a situation for acute heartburn. So I like that.
And that's the thing, we don't want to give recommendations that are not addressing the underlying cause, because Tums work pretty well, or Mylanta works pretty well, but that's not cure. You're just suppressing the symptoms. Something that, like slippery elm that can coat the gut lining and kind of help you with the irritation. But, things like glutamine that are going to help rebuild the gastrointestinal lining and prevent that erosion after, after that. It's also really interesting how many people are walking around with hiatal hernias. And there is no amount of supplements or diet change that is going to help you if you have like a pretty pronounced hiatal hernia, and being able to correct that to get your digestive tract into the right shape, it's the most important thing, and that's actually curative. And you do see that with a lot of weight gain and bad positioning or bad posture.
Yeah, posture is a big thing, especially, everyone's looking down at their cell phones all the time. And my dad actually just got me a strap to wear.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So he's worked on his posture. He's retired now. He goes to the gym. He's lost like 40 pounds, 50 pounds. And he went from 3 diabetic medicines just to metformin. So he's, on his health journey now that he has the time. And then when you get a large amount of the visceral fat, you're right. It pushes the stomach up, and then it can, have things pop through even the diaphragm there too. So yeah, I see a lot of hiatal hernias in the ER. We do a lot of CAT scans on people, so we see a lot of that.
You kind of like delve into both aspects of medicine, this conventional model of medicine, and also this integrative approach. What are some differences that you can see in both approaches, and what would your perfect model look like?
In the conventional model, it's the doctors they just don't have enough time to talk about lifestyle changes with their patients. So a lot of times you just throw a pill at everything. And, when it comes to heartburn, a proton pump inhibitor. When it comes to back pain, things like ibuprofen. And then people sometimes go to pain management, then they're put on chronic narcotics, or they're getting injections for back pain. So I even tell patients about turmeric, curcumin. That's my favorite spice. I mean, I love cooking with it. I get a turmeric root. You can buy it. It's a little bit expensive. You can buy it. It's really orange. You can cut that up, cook with it, and then definitely organic powder is great for eating. Like eggs, that's a great place to use turmeric. I use it in my man scrambles with cauliflower rice and olive oil and pepper. Ibuprofen, it can cause leaky gut. You probably discussed that on the podcast and probably treat plenty of that in your practice. So it can disrupt the lining of the intestine, affecting. Unfortunately, we just don't have, people come in with pain and there's not that much for them. A lot of them might not be interested in spending the money outside of the system to get high dose omega-3 fatty acids, like a good quality one, can cost money. And then change the diet is something that's is difficult to do. Maybe doesn't always cost that much money. If you're cooking your own meals at home, you're gonna most likely save money, even if you're buying high quality, vegetables and meats and stuff. It may be a little bit more money or cheaper than if you're going out for breakfast, lunch, and dinner multiple times per week.
It's amazing how much money I wasted in my lifetime eating out.
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and it's convenience, and it's nice. I'm not saying I don't go out, but it's funny, you might go to a steakhouse and order a steak and not bat an eye at the price, and then you might go to your Whole Foods and you see $13 a pound, and you're like scratching your head, like, do I really want to spend that much money when you just spend like twice as much just because someone else cooked it for you, and it probably wasn't grass fed, and maybe the spices were a little shady, and then you can do so much more when you do it yourself, and so you can definitely eat so much better, so much higher quality if you're cooking, and that is something that I've learned, and then the second thing is that, man, vegetables are expensive. It's funny because everyone will agree that you need to eat some vegetables. You should have some vegetables in your diet. And buying fresh vegetables can get kind of pricey. So one of my tips, is having that Costco card and going and buying, in bulk, and having, some vegetables that are frozen, and some vegetables that are fresh, and then trying to not let perfection be the enemy of good, because we have been in this health space. What Paleo Effects was the one where you saw Mark Sisson?
Not last year, the year before.
So 16.
Yeah.
So you've been doing, probably changing your lifestyle and your habits probably prior to that. I've been listening to podcasts since 2008, on the subject. And over the past 10 years, I've acquired certain things that make my life easier. For example, I have a deep freezer. I have so I have my fridge, and then I have another freezer where I keep my meat and my veggies, and I buy in bulk. I have a Costco card. I have created all of these different things. I don't buy spices by the small bottle. If I know there's going to be something that I use a lot, I kind of invest a little bit more up front and get way more volume. But it's so hard when you are starting from ground zero. I can't imagine someone that basically doesn't know about good nutrition, or are just like dipping their toes into it, going through that learning curve. We can use technology, and we can use all of these systems to facilitate this lifestyle change. It's hard for an average person, or someone that is living below the poverty line. We can preach and talk about, eating healthy or eating fresh, but they can't afford a deep freezer. They can't afford their Costco membership. And in those cases, it might be cheaper to walk down to your fast food place and buy $1 burger. So it takes a little bit of forward investing. And by doing this forward investing, then you can actually create the systems that are going to help you be successful. It's kind of like this investment in your health that goes beyond selecting a salad for lunch rather than a pizza.
I tell a lot of people to buy Mark Sisson's book, The Primal Blueprint. I think it's a good starting point for a lot of people. It's really easy to read. He's got a lot of good pointers on why maybe you should decrease your carbohydrates, different exercise techniques you can do, some stuff about supplements. So it's $24.95 or something. So I tell a lot of, in my discharge instructions, and if people are listening to me, I recommend it. And I've had people go out and buy the book and come back to the ER and tell me they're implementing some of the things in the book. So it's kind of interesting.
My go-to for easiness of reading and really good systems overview is the Paleo Solution by Rob Wolf. I bought that book for so many people, probably cases of it, because it's just such a simple thing. I remember talking to my father-in-law, and he told me that he really liked that book because it has a shopping guide. It is like so, it's so simple, because I've read a lot of diet books as far back as like the first iteration of the South Beach diet, which was a little bit low carb. It did have a little bit of wheat included in the diet, but it was like this narrative and then recipes, and then some of these books, like Primal Blueprint, they have like a workout routine, that little, you can download that PDF from Mark's website. And it's like this 6 exercise circuit that you can do in 20 minutes. You can have shopping guides, and you can, it tells you what to avoid and how to do this for 30 days. And then you try it for 30 days, and then you see the results, and then you take it or leave it. You make the decision. But it's just such a powerful way of presenting the information. And I'm just so glad that there's people doing that kind of stuff out there. Back to men's health, what are some things that you do in your practice that could be applied to guys in their 40s, that want to perform like Tom Brady?
Yeah, I mean, who doesn't want to perform like that, right? Guys can be a little bit tough. I have a lot of friends that need some help, and they just a lot of them don't want to invest the money in their health. We have a lot of women in this health space that definitely listen to different podcasts and make any efforts. But when a guy is going to come in and pay money to see someone like us, outside the insurance model, they're usually pretty committed. So a lot of times they just want to, what do I need to know, doc? What do I have to do? So we have like a whole program for them. So a lot of times we'll take a look at their genetics and kind of do some supplementation around that. We'll take a look at like their ApoE status. If they're 3-4, 4-4, we're going to really dial in the saturated fat to like 5% or 10% of their caloric intake. We'll take a look at their insulin resistance. And, some people maybe do well with a little bit higher carbohydrates, maybe a little bit lower. So a lot of times, if they're looking to lose weight, we'll implement an intermittent fasting plan for them. We'll see if we can have them eat within an 8-hour eating window from like 12 to 8 for a lot of people, and then fast for 16 hours. And that will help them burn fat a lot of the times. A lot of people don't know where to start with supplementation. So we'll get them a good multivitamin. Just about everybody's going to be on curcumin because that's my favorite spice. I think it can help maybe with a little bit of metabolism, can help with decreasing inflammation of the body. And I also think it really helps with decreasing colon cancer. Colon cancer is a big thing here in the United States. So we'll have them on that, check their vitamin D levels, make sure they're optimized between 50 and 80. And most people are going to definitely need supplementation for that. DHE levels is a hormone that kind of goes down. It's produced by the adrenal gland. So we'll see where that is, and we might supplement that. And of course, testosterone. We see so many men these days with low testosterone in their in their 30s, and by the time of their 40s, they're just not feeling well. Some of these guys were high performers, athletic, and the weight keeps gaining on. They're working in front of the computer nonstop, and they're on the cell phone or at night, and they're not sleeping. So we'll track people with a device like this. This is a Garmin Phoenix watch, so we follow their sleep, or we have people with the Oura Ring. So we'll follow their sleep, and then we'll do coaching around their sleep. If they need melatonin, that's something that we can supplement with, and different sleep remedies, and really trying to decrease the amount of blue light. Sometimes blue blockers are a good thing for people. Those are blue blocking glasses if they're in front of the screen a lot. Getting out in the sunshine early in the morning is really important. That can set your circadian rhythm.
Where do you like to see testosterone levels in guys?
I'd like to see it 700 or higher.
And then what's your preferred method of administration of HRT?
A lot of times we do the shots. I like to do it subcutaneous twice a week, Monday and Thursday, or Tuesday and Friday. I think it keeps it level stabilized, and it also maybe can decrease the estradiol bump, because when you give someone testosterone, some of that testosterone is going to be switched over to estradiol. And, estradiol is not a bad thing for men. I think there's some studies showing when it's over 40, there's cardioprotective. There's
you want to see someone depressed. Some of my most depressed patients are guys that were being overdosed in both testosterone and then an estrogen inhibitor, and then their estrogens is non-existent, and it's just they just feel like shit, and you modify like the injection regimen in just a little bit, instead of doing, 200 milligrams, every 2 weeks, and then have this huge spike and that aromatizes half of your testosterone, doing like a split dosing of testosterone and it can be life changing.
And some guys want to do it every day, if they're inclined to do that, and sometimes 3 times a week. I think it can be a real life changer for a lot of people. I mean, that can help really with, especially the first 3 months. It's kind of that golden time. You give them testosterone, their body's not used to that, and then they start working out, and they can burn a lot of body fat. So I think it can really help a lot of people. It helps with their mentation, their confidence, their decision making. To get the estradiol level up there too, it can help with their libido, and I think it's something that's not looked at in conventional medicine, and something that's probably underutilized for a lot of people.
What's the idea behind doing subcutaneous versus intramuscular?
There's different thoughts about it. There's not a lot of research as much, and all the research is done on IM and intramuscular. I think it maybe hurts a little bit less. If you don't have a lot of body fat, it could be a little bit challenging, I think. There's a lot of people in the hormone optimization space that offer it. You can do it IM or subcutaneous. So I offer it both. Sometimes you have to be careful writing that on the script, because you'll get a call from the pharmacist.
Like you mentioned, life changing to optimize someone's testosterone levels. What about your free testosterone versus testosterone? Where do you like to see your patients?
I like to see it at least in the upper part, greater than 50 percentile.
It's really funny, sometimes I get patients that come in and they have like really high sex hormone binding globulin. And they're like, how can I reduce my sex hormone binding globulin? I'm wasting away my testosterone. And I'm like, decrease your testosterone dose because your body is trying to get rid of it. So it's playing this catch-up game, that you're injecting a bunch because you think, oh, my body's binding it. And then your body does exactly what it's supposed to do and continues binding more to prevent things like expansion of your red blood cells or increase of ferritin retention and things like that. So sometimes less is more, and it's pretty fantastic. I do prefer injections. I think injections are a little bit better distributed, especially in like the cypionate type of testosterone where it's like a delayed release. I think that if I was a patient receiving medication, I would rather do one injection a week or twice a week than having to apply a cream every day. You don't know if you're absorbing the cream correctly. You maybe went to the sauna and you're in your prime to absorb everything, or maybe you're running late and you didn't apply it correctly. So the delivery is not as precise as doing an injection. And it's pretty damn inexpensive to do HRT, which is pretty fantastic. I can see, especially in guys that have low levels of testosterone, helping them with their testosterone levels is so important. And then changing the habits that maybe put them on a low testosterone level, exercising, sleeping well, eating an anti-inflammatory diet, having sex, that can not having sex can lower your libido. And so you create this cycle of like, oh, you don't have libido, so you don't have sex. And then your testosterone starts to drop and it continues in this cycle. And then giving them that little push and then helping them either continue doing a safe dose or helping them wean out in order to be, maintaining those testosterone levels with lifestyle. But something that you said, is very true. One of the most interesting qualities of testosterone is the ability to give you drive. And how if you have low testosterone, you're going to have low drive. And I'm talking about like the ability to make decisions, the ability to go on with a project, the ability to be assertive. And then on the other hand of the coin, on the other side of the coin, if you have high testosterone, you're going to be more aggressive. And we don't want the aggression. We don't want someone to be like a lit fuse, went off when someone cut you off, we want to have the drive, we want to have the mental capacity. We don't want you to be overdosed. So, having a good level of testosterone around 700s, 800s, without going into, supra physiological levels, will help you have that mental ability, decrease that mental fog, give you that drive without putting you at risk.
And a lot of people might not feel well when they have this huge testosterone level that's really high too. So
Yeah, and there's a bunch of people that do, and I try to educate, and I don't allow my patients to go super physiological. But yeah, it's important to, just like everything, having those hormones in balance. It's so important. And then if you don't want to take the plunge into testosterone, you can always do precursors to testosterone, making sure that you have all of the things that are going to help you, D-aspartic acid, good estrogen detoxification protocols, with some DIM maybe, trying to eliminate plastics from your life, trying to eliminate scented candles and things like that can aromatize your testosterone, sleeping well, and then things like zinc and DHEA, like you mentioned, and D-aspartic acid can be pretty awesome to increasing your status of testosterone.
yeah, filter your water too. There's a good book called Estrogen Generation by Dr. Anthony J. He's a PhD doctor that's done a lot of research on estrogens and xenoestrogens in the environment. And he just goes through all this literature on it and what's in, it's a lot of birth control in the water. So I like to use the Berkey filter. I have one at my house, and we have a filter here at the office too. I actually bring, when I go on ER shift, I bring my own water.
It's funny because, I live in Arizona, and our water is super hard, and a lot of houses have like a reverse osmosis system, but it strips all the minerals from your water, and then you're drinking and drinking and drinking, and you're becoming dehydrated, So having that Berkey and that allows you to keep some of the minerals within your water and allows you to actually hydrate can be pretty life-changing too. Been geeking out in the past couple of months about electrolytes and how important they are. If you've ever experienced the keto flu, if any of my listeners that couldn't do the ketogenic diet because they felt like crap, adding those electrolytes back, because when you start losing weight, the first thing that goes is your water weight, and that's good, because that's taking away pressure from your kidneys. That is lowering your volume of blood in your system, and that's going to lower your pressure, your blood pressure. So it's important to get rid of that water weight. Starting to lose weight and letting go, your body and all its knowledge. If it's getting rid of that excess water, that means that you're moving in the right direction. But when you start losing all that water, you start losing electrolytes, and you are gonna feel like crap. I was digging on the literature just yesterday about how the thyroid function affects your sodium potassium pumps directly, and that's how you move things around within the cell to create ATP. So maybe you are going to a functional medicine doctor and your thyroid status is, has been fixed, and you still feel like crap. Well, maybe you're just chronically dehydrated. And then it gets really interesting because it's hard to find a good electrolyte product. And one of my pet peeves is this shotgun approach to supplements. And there's a lot of electrolyte powders out there that just have a bunch of crap in them, and it could be things that we might see as a good thing, like B vitamins, but you shouldn't be drinking B vitamins all day long. Finding a good product with good levels of potassium, good levels of sodium, and maybe flavor or unflavor doesn't matter. But finding a good product is not easy. I know there's the Noon product, that you can get like at Whole Foods that can be pretty good. And then Rob and Luis and Tyler Cartwright just released electrolyte powder called Element. Have you heard about that?
I haven't.
Pretty cool stuff. Pretty good levels of sodium and potassium. No, they have an unflavored version, which is very interesting because then you can put it on your protein shake if you want to. And one of the things that I really like about their electrolyte powder is that it doesn't have iodine. I know iodine can get like pretty. You can read a lot about like the benefits of iodine. At least in my section of the population that I see in this integrative approach to endocrinology, I see a lot of Hashimoto's thyroiditis, and you can really exacerbate Hashimoto's with iodine. So it's a very well balanced product that really can help a lot of people.
Yeah, magnesium is a big one too. Most people are deficient in magnesium, and if they're doing a ketogenic diet, they're urinating a lot. Or they're drinking a lot of coffee. They're gonna, I supplement with magnesium a couple times a day, and have my clients take magnesium too.
What's your favorite form of magnesium?
I like magnesium glycinate. I've taken magnesium citrate a couple times with constipation. It definitely works, and
Yeah.
I use it in the ER all the time. So, but we have some that we sell in our store. Then like Pure Encapsulation is another good one too.
Awesome. Dr. Harding, it's been amazing having you on the show. Where can people find you? How can people connect with you? If someone lives in the Austin area, how can they get a hold of your practice?
Well, we see clients from all around the country. So I have several clients that fly in. They can come in, and we do a 2-day or 2.5-day evaluation in the center with them. So it's a commitment. And then I do monthly calls with them over Zoom. So they can just look at the website of apeironcenter.com or drbobharding.com, and we can set up a call if they're interested. We have a program to work with me or work with my physician assistant.
Awesome. So, are you going to be at Paleo FX this year?
I think so. I'm still waiting on my ER schedule, but I'm sure I'll pop in for a day or two.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's a great conference, and I think we met there last year, and I think we met at JJ Virgin's Mindshare. Thanks for having me on.
Oh,
Appreciate
no problem. Anytime, and I'll see you at Paleo FX. Thank you so much.
All right, take care.